Welcome to the Construction Defects Podcast, a show dedicated to helping home builders navigate the tricky and expensive world of construction defect suits. So with me is John Bordenero with Moisture Intrusion Solutions, an envelope consulting firm who helps builders and the associated trades in these types of problems. What about litigation environment? I mean, isn't that a clue? I mean, where you have, I don't want to get political here, but you have more progressive judges as opposed to business-friendly judges. Is that a big factor too?
I think so, yes. We see that, although you could say Florida is a fairly, it's pretty much a 50-50 state, and they have a lot of construction defects cases, but I think that's maybe more due to the fact that you can get a class action case in Florida fairly easily.
That's a good point. Where class action, ease of class action, I think would be a big tell as to whether construction
you look at
a money maker for the lawyers.
Probably, I'm thinking like within the last 10 years, there was an effort made to get a class action lawsuit against one of the top 5 builders in the country. For stucco defects. And the initial claims, when the case went out, or initially it was a class action case. They were seeking class action status. When it went out initially, I think that the total damages they were seeking was somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.5 billion.
Well, that's with a B, huh?
Yeah, with a B. They like their Bs. I think that was, I know it was defended very aggressively by the building. We talked about it on our committee meeting several occasions. I don't think they got the class action status, which helped keeping those, the bonus round damages down. And a lot of that has to do with, how you defend yourself when you get the case. Is you get the bonus round in the penalty clauses, the builders who don't try to work with their customers and make it right. If you behave and try to make it right, you can keep your liabilities lower. You have that opportunity.
That's a key takeaway, whether you're in a construction defect state or not. Customer service is everything. If customer's not upset, they won't hire a lawyer. That is definitely a fact.
Yeah.
Although I want to point out that in construction defect states, one of the things I see that compels a lawsuit, even with friendly homeowners, is when you have a homeowners association who maybe over time had to skimp on the promised services because the dues weren't priced correctly. And then the builder gets roped back into it because at the end or near the end of the statute, they say that the homeowners board can be held liable for the decisions if they don't sue the builder. And so the builders many times are sued not because they did something wrong, but because the HOA skimped on the required services, maintenance and repair. The builder is the only source. So one of the solutions that we can't go into depth on a podcast is HOA management. Again, happy customers. How do you fend off that attorney who's making that kind of threat? And how do you protect the HOA board members and officers from litigation against them too?
Correct. And we're seeing now that the condominium boom of the 80s, now those buildings are all 30 to 40 years old now. They're needing to be recertified. As the board needs to be recertified, the funding needs to be recertified, and the building needs to be recertified. And that's going to cause a lot of issues in the state of Florida for the foreseeable future. It's going to, unfortunately, their condo boards are made up of people who have time to be on a condo board or want to be on a condo board. They're not made up of construction professionals typically. Occasionally they'll get 1 or 2 people on there who know what the construction business is about, and that's very helpful.
Usually not. I've always seen where some of the biggest lawsuits come from homeowners who happen to be construction defect attorneys or engineers.
So we actually have a project in one of the mountainous states where one of the property owners is on the board, was also the project manager to build the project, and that one's going very, very well. I got to say that it's nice to have that particular individual on that board. It's an alpine environment, and they're having to replace windows, and it's 30 years old, and they're trying to figure out the whole process. So it's not really a construction defect. It really is a maintenance issue, but having a construction professional on that board is making that process go a lot better than some.
Well, folks, that concludes this segment of what is a construction defect, and if you're in a construction defect state. Hey, look for some more education from the builder's books at NAHB and their insurance risk management section. It's coming up. You don't want to miss it.